Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kimberly Glover. I'm the owner of Girls of Destiny, and today I want to talk about facing the giant of shame. This is a really sensitive topic to me. I can identify with shame firsthand just from just thinking about my own life and some of the things that I've experienced. Looking out, I see that shame was present in my decision making. Just to define what shame is, according to Webster's Dictionary, shame, a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. Shame of a person, action, or situation to make someone feel ashamed. Shame is also to humiliate, mortify, embarrass, a feeling of guilt or regret, a feeling of sadness that you may have because you know you have done something wrong or something foolish. And some of the questions that I have really been pondering is, did you know that shame really has a look? Um, have you ever even been ashamed? Not just ashamed of who you are, but maybe of someone that's in your life, maybe ashamed of a spouse, a child, a sibling, a friend, of yourself. That's some of the things that we can identify with, but we kind of take it and just look inward instead of looking out or even trying to figure out what the root cause of the shame is. And what I know about shame is it has a look. Shame has a language. Shame also carry around an entourage. When you think about an entourage, you think about good things. You think about maybe someone that made it big in life. They're famous and they have like a posse, a group of people that they take with them everywhere they go. You see the paparazzi also just trying to get this person's entourage there. Someone that um, they just carry a lot of people with them when I think about an entourage. But when it comes to shame and having an entourage, it's not so good when you think about it. People that really have experienced the feeling of shame also experience fears. They experience insecurities, anxiety, and depression. That's the entourage that comes with shame. And if it's left hidden or if it's left unexposed, then you carry around defeat with you. All of this make up defeat. Also, I just want to propose another question, or not even a question, but a comment. Did you know that shame has a voice? Shame can be heard. Even when you're not speaking, shame is talking. Will you keep allowing shame to enter into your heart? Will you allow shame to control you? Will you allow it to dictate your life? Let me give you some examples. Have you ever had a feeling of depression? Um, have you ever felt like you wasn't good enough because of a decision that you made or something that you have done in your life? For me, I had a baby at 19 years old, but it started prior to that. Just a little about me. At 18 years old, I was a freshman in college at North Carolina A&T. Very popular, very fun, very loving, just very outgoing. But then I found myself pregnant during spring break, moving into the end of the semester. And I had so many dreams and aspirations at the time. I wanted to be a cheerleader. Cheerleading was all I knew. I was really getting my skills together. My tumbling was on point. I had lost a significant amount of weight, and I had the ab muscles. I had the body for the uniform. I was actually proud of where my life was going. But then I found out maybe like the second week of April, about 2 weeks before it was time to go home for the semester that I was pregnant. Also, that was the same time that it was cheerleading tryouts. So right then I had a decision to make. Would I keep my baby or would I abort? You know, was the life that I was heading towards greater than the seed that I was carrying on the inside of me? And at that moment, shame began to enter my heart. You know, our parents, when we think about it, they're always proud of us when we do things like go to college and we do things like we make the grades and maybe we are cheerleaders or we athletic and things like that. Everybody begins to look up to us and they look at us in a positive light. But my story began to take a turn because here I am, 18 years old, freshman in college, about to successfully complete an entire year with a 3.5 GPA at the time, pregnant. I'm pregnant, I'm alone, and I don't know what to do. Right then, I'm in a valley of decisions. I'm trying to figure out, God, do I keep this baby or do I abort? What do I do? Do I tell my parents or do I hide it? Do I go back home to DC or do I stay in North Carolina? So right then I began to feel anxiety coming on. You know, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what choice to make. But I had already told God that in the event that I got pregnant that I was going to keep the baby. So I decided to just face my choices. I decided to face my consequences. And for me, it was a really it was a really tough thing to do. Um, because it seemed good in the beginning. Maybe for like the first 2 weeks, I felt like I had a support system while I was in North Carolina. The father of my child was involved at that time, but things took a turn for me when I came back home. It was literally like immediately when we got on the train back to DC and we got to Union Station, my life turned. It was in a matter of a train ride that my life turned. Some may say for the worse, but today I can look shame in the face and say that my life turned for the best. I made the choice to keep my baby, and I said, God, because I decided to honor you and to keep my baby, honor the words that I said that I wouldn't go into the abortion realm. That this battle, I knew it was going to be tough. I already sensed that it was going to be challenging, and shame hit me like never before. It's like everybody was looking at me. I immediately became a disappointment. Even when it came to my family, more so my parents, they were very disappointed in the decisions that I made, um, because they had been telling everybody about this perfect daughter, about this college student. Finally, we got a college student, another one in the family. Um, she's very athletic. We know that she's going to make something of her life, and now she's pregnant. I was basically shunned immediately. So I was in shame. I had shame. It's easier to deal with shame when no one can see it. Now, before I really started showing my pregnancy, I was like, you know what? I'm pregnant, but no one on the outside can see. So they still seeing someone that has a promised future, what the world would call it. But then my baby started to grow, and I began to have strangers staring at me. I would get on a bus and people would tell me things like, "You're an embarrassment." These are strange people. And I know that it was the enemy today. It was the devil bringing people to really put that root of shame in my heart even further, to make me really reconsider my decision, to reconsider what choice would I make in the matter. I had a stranger tell me, you are embarrassment to our people. You are embarrassment to this race. Here you are with no high school degree, high school diploma, as he said, and you're pregnant. What are you, like 16? And my feelings was crushed. At the time, I had to be about 5.5 months pregnant. Really just trying to embrace this newfound pregnancy. And a stranger tell me that I'm embarrassing. And when I told him how old I was and that I had 1 year of college under my belt, the stranger was like, "Oh, my bad, I apologize, you look so young." And I had a lot of people staring at me. I had a lot of people, even from high school, um, that looked at me differently. I was a disappointment, and I knew it. But one thing I want to just really bring about or bring to the forefront about this subject of shame, or this feeling of shame, this attitude of having shame, um, you are really humiliated. It really does make a difference if you decide to take on what shame is. You feel foolish. It's like instead of being embraced because I decided to keep this baby, I was shunned and I was looked down upon. It's almost like if I would have hid the pregnancy by aborting the baby, that I would have been more accepted. And I didn't want to go that way. I didn't want to go in that direction. I knew how it felt to go down that road, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to finally own up to the choices that I made, and I didn't really want to point the finger. So I really got into a place where I told God, Lord, I'm going to decide to keep my baby, and I know, God, that this is going to be a struggle, but Lord, with your help, God, I'll get through it. Um, with each trimester, the pregnancy got harder. I was really embarrassed. It was to the point where even in my own house, well, my parents' house, I just wanted to stay in the room all day long. I did not want to come out because shame had gripped me so much. I felt like I was the black sheep of the family at the time. I felt guilty for deciding to keep this life on the inside of me. I felt guilty if I would have enjoyed the pregnancy, so I hid the pregnancy. I only came out the room when no one was there. I came out the house when I felt like everybody was asleep and no one can see this growing baby on the inside of me. Um, just moving forward in shame, I said that shame has a language, and the language of shame is the language of hearing a voice telling you you're not good enough, or a voice telling you you're an embarrassment, or you hear a voice telling you you made a bad decision. You hear the voice saying you're stupid. You hear, why would you even choose to go on with this? You knew you could have took the easy route out. You could have just aborted this baby. You could have just walked in a different direction. And I can make all of this go away. Just choose to move forward with shame. Choose to move forward and hide. Hide. And if it even get worse, commit suicide. The voice of shame talks about suicide. Um, Shame can really weigh in so hard that you'll decide, well, some people decide to end their life because they're embarrassed. They feel like maybe the world would be better without them. They have so many feelings of guilt or regret. They begin to resent themselves. But I want to tell you that you don't have to walk in shame. You don't have to allow the world to tell you that what you did was wrong. For me, the shame for me was the pregnancy. Actually, it was the sex. It was the knowing, people knowing that, oh my goodness, this perfect girl had sex. And this perfect girl not only had sex, but she had unprotected sex to the point where she now has a baby. Um, I used to hear the enemy say things to me a lot like, you're defeated. You'll never be anything. Just jump in front of a bus, or jump in front of that car today, or just try to starve yourself, or you're not worth living. You're not worth it. Shame was beating me up. Shame was trying to control my life. But I have to tell you, along with shame and the problems that come with it, it was a greater one that lived on the inside of me, and it was Jesus. See, at a very young age, I chose to give my life to Christ. And I didn't know what that meant. Even at 18 and pregnant, I didn't know what it meant to have Jesus as my Lord and Savior. I didn't have a relationship with Him. I knew that He existed. And I would hear preachers and pastors tell us that God lives on the inside of me, but I didn't know what that looked like. So I made the decision to keep my baby. And go through a pregnancy that was really challenging by myself. To not really have a strong support system. And I made a decision that God, because I chose to lay down and have sex, that I was going to raise this baby up in the things of God. I was going to raise this baby in a better situation than what I felt like I was in throughout the pregnancy. And it didn't matter what it was going to take, but I chose to make a different decision. So for me, I had to evict shame out of my life. And the only way that I was able to evict shame, or even realize that shame was really existing in my life, trying to make me feel like I didn't mean anything, that I was worthless, I had to rededicate my life to Jesus. What can I say? When I rededicated my life to the Lord, that was the best decision that I made for me. It was like a breath of fresh air, if I can explain it like that. I didn't care what nobody thought about me anymore. It was like this boldness came on me, and it did not matter if no one approved of me, because at that moment I learned that the Lord loved me and Jesus approved me. And because I was a young mom, and because I was a teenage mom, I didn't have to feel guilty anymore about those choices. But instead, I chose to fight. I chose to fight the good fight of faith. And the Bible talks about it. I just want to go through a few scriptures that talks about fighting the good fight of faith. And just as I turned, I decided that my life meant something, that my life was worth living, and that I needed to make a decision to live the life that I was called to live, therefore evicting shame out of my life. And sometimes when you have to make a decision like evicting shame out your life, it's very uncomfortable. It's very scary, to be honest, if I can use that word. It's challenging. Sometimes we need help, and we don't always know who to turn to. But I learned that even through that, God was the only thing that I could turn to. I didn't have anybody else that I could call and say, hey, I got these thoughts coming up in my mind and I don't know what to do with this. So I didn't want to show my baby what I was thinking, and I didn't want him to ever feel like any of the things that was coming on me was his fault. So when I chose to go to God, it sounds easy, but it wasn't. It wasn't easy. For me, my journey was very challenging, but today I could say that it was so worth it was worth coming to Him, because my life is different, and now I don't look at things the same. Shame can't come in and defeat me anymore. Shame can't tell me lies. Because honestly, shame is a devil. It's a devil of shame that lies to people. It lies to us and tell us that we're never going to be nothing. Shame try to tell you what you did wrong. But grace, God is grace. Grace saves us. And grace saved me. So the Bible talks about fighting the good fight of faith. In 1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 12, it says, fight the good fight of faith, lay hold on eternal life, whereunto thou art also called, and have professed a good profession before many witnesses. Fight the good fight of faith. You know, we often hear that the battlefield is in the mind, and I believe it because with shame, all the things that I was thinking was based on that one decision that I made to keep my baby. To me, if I would have aborted him, that would have been the easiest way out because I would never have to deal with the worldly aspect of shame. Now, I would have had to internally really deal with the fact that I just got rid of a life that was growing on the inside of me, and it really hurt. So I would have had to deal with the shame of internal feeling, but outwardly I still would look like this perfect girl. Um, I'm just give you some of the examples that I wrote down about shame. Like I said, for me, the first thing of shame was having a baby outside of marriage at a young age. Um, Another form of shame, an example of shame, is being abused physically, emotionally, or verbally. Um, when we're abused, I'm speaking as a woman, verbally, physically, even sexually, um, we tend to look inward. The how do I say this? The offender try to control your mind. Um, it's not really good. It's not a good feeling to be abused physically, emotionally, or verbally. But they can get us to a point where we're so full of shame, we're so full of guilt or regret about the situation that we be quiet about it and we never tell, we never talk. Um, we feel like if we talk, then somebody else we love might be affected from what happened to us, or we feel like we're never going to get free if we talk about it, or that behavior will continue. Um, and about abuse, just to elaborate on that, verbal abuse is just as bad as physical abuse. Emotional abuse that can push people to suicide. It can push people to drugs, alcoholism. Um, it can push people to walking away from their responsibility. It beats you up so bad that you don't want to face the next moment, nor do you even want to face the next hour. And sometimes people don't even want to face the next minute. It's so bad. This thing of shame, y'all, is really a big deal. It's nothing to be played with. It's nothing to sweep over under the rug. People have killed themselves, or even others, because of shame, y'all. We need to really face this giant of shame today and be free. We need to be free. Um, Another form of shame is maybe you're not educated. Um, Maybe you started college young and then you dropped out for any type of reason. Maybe life happened. Maybe you didn't even finish high school. You might not have grown up in a really pleasant situation and you weren't able to finish at the time. And then people started to make you feel embarrassed because you stopped. Or people began to make you feel like you're not worth anything. You don't even have an education. How can you tell me something and you didn't even finish school? So there go the shame again. There go the guilt. There go the regret. And now here comes the pressure, the anxiety, the depression. Because now you're thinking about what you could have been, what you should have done, and what you didn't do. Um, and just an example from my own personal life, dealing with shame concerning education. I had a baby at 18 in my freshman year of college. Um, when I made the choice to go back to school, I had a lot of naysayers tell me Why would you go back to school with this baby? You never going to finish. You ruined your life. The baby ruined your life. You're 18 years old. You had a baby at 19 years old. You don't have a job. You only have 1 year of college behind you. Why? What are you going to do with your life now? There's nothing you can do. Who's going to watch this baby? You made the bed. Now you lie in it. Now here I go again, having to deal with the feeling of shame. Now I have to decide on whether I want to take what comes along with shame or the definition of shame to have regret. Now, do I now regret that I made the choice to have my baby because I have a dream to go to school and no one believes in it? So what I did was I didn't care about what nobody else thought. I was more defiant when it comes to that. I have been rebellious when it comes to somebody telling me that I can't do something that I know that God has told me that I can do. I don't listen. I might look like I'm listening to you, but if you come to me and tell me that I cannot do something, I'm going to go against what you just told me. So what I did was I packed up everything that I had, which was really nothing at the time, and I took my 6 month old baby and I went back to school. And here comes shame present again, thinking that I'm doing myself a justice. Shame comes in a form of stares, whispers, talk behind your back, just people looking at you like you are nothing. People looking at you like you're meaningless because here it is, this girl that was promising, I guess you can say. She has a little baby and she's back in school. Now, I'm hearing, is that even a good mom? Do good moms take their newborn babies back to school with them? How selfish was she for going back to school with this baby? So now she's selfish because instead of being home taking care of this baby on welfare, whatever they wanted me to do, I'm going to class with this baby stroller, with this 6 month old baby, day after day after day after day. And it didn't matter what nobody said about me because I knew that looking at that little life that was now in my hands, I had to make a choice. And shame was not going to pump me out. So moving forward, it took me a while to finish college. Going back to school, maybe sometimes a year at a time, a semester at a time, and taking my baby with me every step of the way. I didn't have a babysitter, and I didn't let that stop me. So I looked shame. Actually, I looked shame in the face, and I decided that regardless of the talk about me, regardless of the negative comments or the stares, that my baby and I, we was going to school. And I didn't care what nobody thought. So that journey was very rough. It was very challenging. And instead of giving up in the face of defeat, giving up when I knew that bills needed to be paid, we needed a roof over our head, that had me work even more. It had me go even further. I knew that I didn't have a babysitter, but that wasn't an excuse to me. I just made it my business to speak to all my professors and see, let them know that my situation is different than the average student. I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. I work a full-time job and I have a child. Would it be possible that he can go to school with me? So with each school that I went to, and each semester that I did, my son sat in class with me. He sat there with me every day, every step of the way he was there. So finally, years later, 12 to be exact, from the time that I first went away to college, I graduated with a bachelor's of science from Morgan State University. And shame tried to creep in again because just like the average college student that may complete their degree in 4 years, it took me 12 years. Not all at once. Some semesters I did sit out. Sometimes I went part-time. And sometimes I didn't go for a year and I went back the next year. It took me 12 years with 5 different universities to finally complete my degree. And shame can't tell me that what I did wasn't wise because for me it was what I needed to do. And now my son saw something bigger. than what the situation was. Um, Another face of shame or an example of shame is overcoming failures or addictions. Sometimes when we fail at something, we start something and we don't finish it, or we start something and we don't get the desired result, shame comes in. Maybe you started a business and your business didn't flourish. Then you have to hear the voice of shame again if you don't shut it up immediately, telling you you're a failure. You started that business, you're never going to finish, you're never going to make anything from it. No one wants to patronize from you. No one's going to listen to you. You don't matter, so you might as well quit. Don't post that video because nobody's going to pay attention. But it don't matter. You have to look at that shame and tell it to shut up. Shut up, shame. Because you're not going to defeat me. And you got to face that giant just like the Israelites had to do when Joshua was to lead them into the promised land. He sent out, Moses called for 12 spies to go into the promised land and spy it out to see if that land was what God said it was. And just a little background information, 10 of the spies came back to the camp where the Israelites was with the evil report. And 2, which is Joshua and Caleb, came back with a good report. The 10 spies told the Israelites that yes, the land do flow with milk and honey, but there were giants in the land. And they said that they looked at themselves as grasshoppers in the sight of the giants. But Joshua and Caleb said that that land do flow with milk and honey, and we are well able to take those giants. But the children of Israel decided to believe the 10 spies. I think that those 10 spies right now represent the 10 giants of shame. They decided to look at the problem. They decided to look at the fact that maybe they didn't have enough money, or maybe they wasn't. They decided to look at the fact that they had a baby young, or they had a situation that they might have been born into poverty or lack, or you know it wasn't all roses. They looked at the fact that they couldn't afford things. They looked at the fact that the circumstances wasn't to the point where they could just walk away and go into the land that flows with milk and honey. So they decided to murmur and complain. They decided to allow fear and anxiety to just torment them to the point where they couldn't even go into the promised land. Okay. Here it is, God gave us a promise. Here it is, God told us that we can be whatever He called us to be in life, and we decide to look at the current situation and make a decision off of what it looked like that we would never be. We decide to make a decision that I had this baby young, that I'm only going to struggle for the rest of my life. I'm going to struggle. That's all I know is working from paycheck to paycheck instead of going to start that business. You look at the fact that maybe I don't have a master's degree. Who's going to listen to me? You look at the fact that I didn't come from money. How am I ever going to be a millionaire? Shame. That fear, doubt, and unbelief entering in your heart now. Now you're looking at the situation thinking that it defines you. When God says clearly that He defines us. His word defines us. And He called us prosperous. He called us free. He called us the righteousness of God. He supplied all our needs for us. So we have the ability to look shame in the face and tell it to shut up. Because we're going to walk in the Word. We're going to walk forward. We're going to move forward. We make a decision today to evict shame and to move forward. We decide to not even take the thought of depression, not take the thought of the anxiety, not allow the fears to come upon us, but we decide to move forward in God. We decide that that one word from God can change our life, no matter what it looks like. We decide that we will go and be what God called us to be. So if it means to start that business and nobody in your family did, so what? Do it. You make a difference. How about this? Be the difference. And tell shame directly in the eyes to shut up. I don't want no parts of you anymore. But today, I choose to accept the Lord Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and I choose that everything that comes with that decision evict shame out of my life. That it evict the fear, the doubt, the unbelief, the anxiety, and whatever entourage that shame decides to bring out of my life. But I choose to be free. Bye.